It's time already, so we would like to start 7th T Chang International. So T Chang International, we invite guest speaker and MC from different countries. Today, we hear from Hong Kong. Today's MC is Jody from Hong Kong.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jody Look, a second-year undergraduate law student from Nagoya University from Hong Kong. Before we have a presentation from our honorable guest speaker, I would like to give a brief introduction of Hong Kong, one of the major global financial centers in the world. Okay. What's the first thought that comes to your mind when you hear Hong Kong? Will that be tall residential buildings, skyscrapers, Hong Kong Disneyland, or mouth-watering dim sum? As you might probably know, Hong Kong is known for its competitive real estate market, the belief of work hard, play hard. As a result, there's a variety of entertainment facilities such as Disneyland. Dim sum is our signature food reflecting our traditional food culture. Given the well-established systems and flexibility in culture, Hong Kong is regarded as an international financial center, attracting foreign investments and being a popular location of regional headquarters in Asia Pacific. However, what about entrepreneurs in Hong Kong? In such saturated market, is there still capacity or room to develop startup in Hong Kong? The data here illustrates the startup ecosystem in Hong Kong, specifically the total number of startups from 2017 to 2021 in Hong Kong. Despite market being highly competitive and ongoing economic challenges of the global pandemic, Hong Kong is still found to be an attractive place for startups. According to Start Me Up HK, which is an initiative by Invest HK aimed at helping founders of innovative and scalable startups from overseas to set up or expand in Hong Kong, the number of startups gradually increases from 2,229 in 2017 to 3,755 in 2021, which marks an increase of 68%. In spite of growing number of startups in Hong Kong, launching a startup is never easy, no matter you're in Hong Kong or not, especially for future generation who has to deal with the increasingly saturated markets, as well as challenges brought by globalization and other uncertainties. Today, we're honored to have Professor Erwin Huang from the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology as our guest speaker to share his insights on the future education with a specific focus on the role of entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation, as well as his vast experience in his roles as a serial entrepreneur, social innovator, and angel investor. Please feel free to raise any question during the presentation in the chat box, and welcome Professor Huang.
Good day. Hi, Tanaka-san, and hi, everybody, and hi, Jody. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's actually really fun. We haven't been flying around a lot, so being able to actually talk to international audience is actually fun, but we are still doing it online. Hopefully, we are able to actually do it quickly in the future, offline and online also. So this is something that would be very interesting. So maybe I start sharing with sharing my screen.
Please.
Okay, can you see my share screen?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so this actually, it's an interesting time. We are in an age of things changing very, very rapidly. New technology is actually changing the way that we work. Before the pandemic, we actually have already been talking about, well, what happened when all cars become electric car? Or what happens when the weather becomes too hot? What happens when life might not be sustainable? Or what happened when robots or AI might actually replace us? So we are supposedly technology, digital transformation in all kind of industries is actually changing the world very, very rapidly. But that's before the pandemic. Now we have something what we call a new normal. And a new normal is actually even more being a lot more complicated and dynamic situation to the world. In your generation, young people, we are actually facing something that I think nobody can have actually seen for hundreds or thousands of years. So this is something that's, what are we talking about in this new normal? And some of the things obviously that we can start thinking about, it's related to it's related to the pandemic. Because now, for the last few years, as we mentioned, for the last few years, we actually more or less locked down in most part of the world. Even though now a large part of the world is opening up, still the disease is going on. Maybe we are reporting less, or maybe the medical system is actually handling, or maybe the disease is actually becoming less hurtful for people. But still, it's changing, and this actually it's part of the. It's actually a good way to actually show how evolution theory can actually work in such a scale when many people are actually infected, when we have vaccines and new model to actually fight the virus. The virus change, and it still kills a lot of people. I'm using these numbers from Hong Kong, and still a lot of people are not fully vaccinated, and then creating a lot of problem, and still the death rate can actually be suddenly jump up to very, very high. And we are all very, very concerned about the current thing. But still, the world is opening up. And last week in Hong Kong and China, we announced that the Chinese community, which have been locked up for many years, for 3 years, is actually opening up a little bit. But still, the disease is moving even faster because they have been locked up for so long with all protection. But now, without the protection, more people might actually be infected. And would there still be lockdown in the future, not just in Asia, even in the West? These are things that we need to figure out, because healthcare, it's not just for the medical industry. When we are talking about beforehand, studying to be a doctor is actually not a simple thing. You need to study many years, get into the specialty, and then practice before you can actually become a doctor. Some of the top jobs in the world. But nowadays, with this particular pandemic, even if you are well trained as a doctor, you might not be prepared for what's going on. And these kinds of virus and new disease might actually still come. And the way that we see this is actually, let's say there are people that's being sick, and obviously you'll be able to treat them, handle them in different stages and different things and so on. But there are people that's not sick yet. And but the disease is moving so fast that we actually need to do prevention to actually prevent people to actually getting sick. Otherwise, the system might be overloaded. So suddenly, medical becomes much, much bigger because healthcare and the well-being of human is actually changing. So the way that we are seeing this is actually this new normal is changing many parts of our life. And to be in this industry, the whole thing is different. So how do we prepare? If I really care about human beings' health, how do I prepare for this thing? Today, I would like to share a little bit about how all these new normal, new changes actually affecting our life, but how do we prepare to actually get into a new world, to actually work on things? And beyond that, the pandemic is affecting us in other ways. Let's say transportation and logistics, because of what happening in suddenly happened by this disease. The logistics system, which the globalized world with a global supply chain have already changed in new ways. Some might rely a little bit more on computer and robots. Some people lost their job. Some tourist industry is actually being closed off. Some airport is actually being closed off. I was actually last month when Japan opened up a little bit, I actually been able to actually fly to Narita. Usually it would take more than 1.5 hours to actually get out of the thing. But this time when I go, it's so fast because there's nobody. And I was thinking, I need to prepare for many tests, but everything's now digital. So even when I was there, I haven't been to Japan for 3-4 years. But when I come in, the passport actually tells the computer that with my face. So in some of the new area, I can actually walk through without actually going through the normal immigration thing. So tourist industry is actually going to change, and many business travel and things that will be changed. So this particular new normal is not just affecting healthcare. It's actually affecting how people do business or live in different ways and so on. I understand Jody was actually admitted to Nagoya University a year before, but she would have been studying online. But at least now she is there and working in person. These kind of hybrid model is something that we will see for many industries and for some time. How do we prepare? Because in the old times when we let's say I want to be in the tourist industry, one way to do it is I go to Switzerland and study hotel management, and that might be one of the best study that I can prepare for being in the tourist industry. But now is hotel even the same thing? How would it change? These are things that when the industries are recovering, it's something that we don't know and we need to work on. So the new normal is something that we don't know, and it's not easy to actually prepare ourselves for that. Obviously, there are other things. And earlier this year, in Russia and Ukraine, Russia started this war. Now we call it the war in Ukraine, and then it's just 10 months. But think about it: many people have died, and then we were actually reading last week that all the stockpile of weapons in the Western world and in Russia has more or less been used up. So in a very short period of time, many people have actually been affected, not just in that one or two countries in Europe. And then many people, because of that, it affects things like gas price, natural gas prices, and also inflation is actually moving very, very fast. This is related to both the war and also the gas price and also the new normal of the pandemic coming together. So we have new ways to actually check out what's going on. But the media have also changed. Every day when we listen to the news, things are changing. So beyond just as I mentioned, healthcare industries or even logistics, or many things have changed, and we are seeing hyperinflation in many parts of the world. And even in Asia, it's not come that bad yet, but likely it will still come in a way that might hurt us. And many people might be losing their jobs. In the older industry or older economy, when we rely so much more on housing, on the let's say minimum wage, on things and so on, with these hyperinflation, what would happen? That's something that we don't know, and the world haven't seen such inflation for at least 40 years, and we are talking about this might be worse than the Great Depression about 100 years ago. So you are a new generation facing these kinds of change. How do we prepare for that? And then the war seems to be entering its first winter. We are very careful that we care for people over there, and hopefully it ends soon. But seems like there's no simple way to actually end it soon. So that's something that's going to change a lot of our life. Another thing that I would like to share with you today, and this few weeks, there's something very new coming out, and we were talking about AI being very powerful. And AI and machine learning is actually moving in such a pace in the last 2-3 years. That's changing a lot of how we actually do things. AI controlling robots and collecting a lot of data to actually work on things. We have been using that quite a bit. Let's say for all we can remember, let's say when we go to do a search on Google, when we start typing, the system would actually know and suggest what we are typing, and then try to actually, when I mistype some words, actually the system from Google will actually recommend the right word for us, so that it can actually help us search the right thing. And with millions of different choices that it can search in the internet, it can actually some of the top 3 or top 5 answers are actually good answers that's coming out. So Google have been actually using this, and quite a few different companies have been using these, and we more or less use it for free for a long time. And then we're used to it, even though we might not know which part of the world is actually being controlled or being worked on by AI. And AI and machine learning is actually changing many people's life. But in the last few months, there are a lot of discussion because OpenAI is a new company that actually just come out in a few years, and then it's actually also open source, that we can actually be trying newer technology using this AI to actually do things. And some are actually saying that is AI truly coming of age, where it's actually possible now to do things that cannot be done before. We were talking in a few years ago just that playing Go, which is a very famous Asian game where the large chess spot was white and black playing each other. In Chinese and in Japanese, it's a very famous game. We were thinking that for AI to actually beat people, human being, is actually not easy because that's a very complicated game. But only in 5 years, 5 years ago, AlphaGo, also from Google, have actually used the cow to actually beat the top champion of the world. And the champion is being quote that, AI is so powerful that human being would not be able to actually beat it. But then we were saying, oh, it's only in a game of chess. Maybe there are other things that the computer cannot do yet. So today I'll share a little bit about what we are talking and what states we are on with AI. So the idea here is this is some of the AI model. When AI is moving into a new area where we are starting to call it machine learning. Machine learning is something that there are different ways to actually structure and categorize different kind of AI. Some of them is actually structured and based on human knowledge. So when I ask a question, let's say when I go to see a doctor, I'm flu, I have fever, I have a sore throat, and then maybe he can take some of my stool to actually try out, to actually check out if I have certain disease. That's what a doctor will actually do. So when an expert model, this if you are sick, do you have a running nose? Oh, okay. Do you have fever? These if-then questions are simple expert ideas where when the doctor need to actually decide on some things, the if-then model will actually create the thing. We call this expert system, which is part of an AI system, which have been in operations for 50 years plus. But now we are putting more and more in expert system that if-then is actually in the computer that we can do. But now the newer technology, machine learning, is actually completely beyond that. It's actually if we know something and then work on it from there, that's still AI. But if we don't know something, it actually take into account all the different possibility and variables and start creating things that no program can actually do. So the more it actually play, the more it actually knows the best answer. When I talk about the Google search, that's how it works. Because it's not just if you search this has come out. Because when more and more people click on the same search and type on the same thing, the system actually learns, and machine learning allows them to actually learn much faster. So the more they learn, the more database they have, the better they are actually at predicting the answer. And in some way, they can actually predict the future because they have seen all these things working at the same time. Another very famous use of this machine learning is, let's say when we are traveling. We're traveling from A to B. Okay, so what's the best way to do it? So normally a geographical information system will actually tell us, okay, you jump onto a train, you go there, and then you take a taxi or you take another train to actually go somewhere. You walk 5 minutes, then you get to the place. When we do Google Maps, that's how it works. But now Google Maps actually can tell us that don't take this route because there's a car jam there, or don't take this bus because it's slowing down. You might want to walk that 10 minutes to the next stations because then you can skip the jam and move faster. But how would Google, how would the system knows? First thing, now it's taking into account not just what's the best way to do it, it's what's the best way to walk there now, because it would actually calculate, let's say this is the time when early in the morning, everybody's going to work, so everybody's getting to the city, and it will take into account who is actually searching what time, and then how Google Maps is actually collecting all these information. By having real-time information and actually predictable information through scheduling, it would actually knows that likely during a work day, this route would be congested. Beyond that, it would actually take real-time information to actually allow us to actually know even more. So by taking all these things into account, it can actually move and actually know something and create something very, very quickly. In the last few months, we start seeing new ways to do things beyond just finding routes. This actually, I'll show you a demo on this tool technology. One is called Midjourney, which is a free tool that you can actually go and check out. You can Google it and then join it on Discord, which I'll show you. This is actually creating art using text, which is very, very interesting. And now in the last few months, people are discussing what is art, because when we were talking about computer, we were thinking repetitive job, the thing that happens many, many times, we use a computer to do it. As long as we stay creative, maybe computer cannot replace us. But this year we start seeing that the computer can actually create something very, very creative and alliterative, try out many, many times. And then by interacting with people and other computers, it can actually potentially generate very good art out of it. So I'll try to give you a demo on this. So these are different things that the computer can actually generate. Another thing is actually text. So let me jump onto another system and share with you from there. Okay, now I'm on another system. Can you see me online? Okay, right. All right. Okay, so this actually it's a new chat-based system. This is text-based. This is the topic of this last two weeks. When you can go and actually open an account at this chat at openai.com. It's still now limited to certain countries, but I think in certain part of Asia it's actually open already. Otherwise, you can ask you can have a VPN to actually log into from the US to actually try it. So let's say here, how do I so I can ask the computer many things. Let's say this one. Let's say I have a 10-year-old child and it's his birthday. So it's her birthday, my daughter. So what should I buy for her? So now I'm asking the computer to actually prepare something. And then how do I prepare? Oh, okay, prepare a birthday party would be fun. So I'm not typing. Now what I'm doing is I'm asking the computer to actually come up with a creative idea for a 10-year-old daughter. And somehow a movie night would be interesting. A DIY spa party, that would be fun. A dance party and things and so on. So what I've just done is actually just type one very simple question. And this AI with machine learning is actually able to actually create something that answer me that sounds very, very reasonable. Let's say, what should I do if I want to go study in Sweden? I just make this up. So if you're interested to study in Sweden, you should research in university programs. And it would tells me in pure simple language, what test should I take? And then how should I submit? How then I should apply for a student visa. And it's better to start the process early. And then I can keep on asking it. What time of the year? So it will know that I'm having a conversation with it, and then it can come up with particular questions, particular answer that actually come up from there. So this is actually very, very interesting. And then people actually say, if I'm going into a exam or if I need to write a paper, maybe the computer can actually help me. So maybe we can try it. I am. And need to write a paper. As you can see, it actually takes into account many things, and it actually come up with something that actually might actually make sense. And I can ask, okay, I want to do more on number 4, and the system can actually help me do it, and so on. So this is actually very, very interesting because last week I was trying this, and then I'm designing a new course for my university, and then I start asking it questions, and then it start doing all the research for me and actually get the things done. And this is crazy. So I was thinking, I'm going to lose my job because the computer now can do it. And at least now I can choose what best to do it. But after working for a while, likely the computer can actually do something that actually makes even more sense to actually work on things. So this is crazy. Let me ask him, if you are so powerful, Will I have a job? See, it doesn't want it. It said, "Oh, no problem. You're okay." But you never know. So this is one way to look into it, because AI, it's now moving into machine learning, and machine learning can be very, very powerful. That more and more of our work, this is actually just launched very, very short period of time. So it's only have a very relatively small content source, but basically, obviously, it's capturing many information, many knowledge from the internet, and then through the internet, it actually start answering questions that we cannot do. Still remember the time only 10 years ago when we started talking to Siri on the iPhone or Alexa from Amazon, that it doesn't really do the thing, so we were laughing at it. But now it seems that it's actually all possible. That we can actually use the computer to actually do a lot of things. Obviously, it still needs some training. This is the early days, but the more that we use it, the more we can actually work on. So this is something that we need to try out. Okay, so that's one thing. This is the word-based computer AI. Okay, this is another. This one, it's what I mentioned called Midjourney. Midjourney, it's being deployed in Discord, which is a chat app. So you can actually go and actually join Discord, download it, and then you can actually search for Midjourney, and then you can join this. So after you join it, let's say I can come here and say, okay, I can type something, and let's say these are pictures, and then let's say this guy is typing a person very angry because of past problem, and it's purple fire and all these things and so on, and the system can actually generate pictures out of it. So it's like a conversation that you can type different texts. Obviously, this guy typed a lot of text, and then you can try different things. Let's say, oh, these are very interesting pictures. So I can come in and say, okay, I want to make this bigger. Generate a higher version for me. So what it does is you can actually interact with the pictures and say that I want to actually draw different pictures on different things. So this is like chair as a boy, which is kind of strange. And then and the system will actually generate different pictures out of it and so on. So these are very, very high resolution pictures that's actually being drawn in a very, very nice way. And these are not photos. It's actually capturing everything. And when you start typing to it, it can generate things on the fly to allow you to actually work on things. Okay, beforehand, we were actually let's say doing Google search for image, and Google will actually go out and actually find the image on the internet for us. But now we can actually ask the system to generate something that's not even anywhere. And it can actually create new pictures to actually do things. The next generation part of these products is can I fit a script and then actually generate a movie for me. And these are things that we are seeing. And Midjourney it's only out from earlier this year. And in the last few months, one very, very, very famous case, it's actually some artist used this system and generate a very interesting picture, and then go and join a US competition for painting. And the picture actually got the championship. So it seems that most people in the judges cannot actually distinguish if there's a real picture of this a picture. Actually, we don't even know what's real anymore. Is this a real picture generated by a person, or is this a real picture generated by a computer? These are things that we don't know, because we are at this time, we're actually facing this new potential change that might actually affect us, and then it also affect how we actually prepare for the future. So that's something. These are the background. These are things that if that's the case, how should I prepare for this future thing? So with the new normal, with the war in the world and all the different changes, inflation and so on, with AI, how should I prepare for the next generation? This is something that many of you who are Generation Z people are actually asking, and that's something that maybe we should look into. So I went to a graduation talk recently, and these are the high school people graduating, and basically we were seeing the same thing. They were saying, what should I study? If this is the future, how should I prepare for the future? And if I want to be a doctor, but the medical field might be different. If I want to be a hotel person, management person, but hotel might be different. If I want to even be an artist, tomorrow might be the computer can actually replace me. That's something that we might not know. So at that time, I actually shared this particular presentation with them. So this actually is it's a video that we actually see. Okay, so this video is actually about 10 years old. So this kid is actually playing with that's an iPad 1. And then when we give this kid a magazine, it's actually trying to zoom in. Is that, oh, it's not zooming in. It doesn't flip to the next page. Something's wrong. It's broken. See, it doesn't zoom. Usually it's zoom bigger, right? Yes, let's try again. It's useless. See, something's wrong with this thing. Yeah, it doesn't go to the next. Maybe it's my finger. Let me try this. See, it doesn't move, right? No, let me try. Let me see. No, it's working. I can feel it. So it's not working. What's going on? I want my iPad back. Oh, now I'm happy. Okay, that's iPad 1. I found this on YouTube. But think about it. iPad 1, it was out about 10 years ago. iPad was actually introduced in 2012. And so that girl, it's about, I don't know, 9 years old. Likely, let's say if you're born this year, maybe you don't have to see a magazine. Maybe everything you have seen is actually, this is actually the most important thing that you will do, the gesture that you actually control things. This new generation, just like you, Generation Z, is a very important generation, because we sometimes call Generation Z because we think this is the last generation, because this is the most powerful generation, because it's very different. Normally, when you go and Google what Generation Z actually means, is actually people that's born after 1995. What happened in 1995? 1995 is the year when browser comes out, when Amazon comes out, when instant messaging starts, when many technology becomes prevalent and very easy to use. Me being a person that's older than 1995, before I was born before that, we are people that's digital migrant. I start with non-digital world, and I start learn to actually deal with the digital world. But digital natives, these are Generation Z people just like you, are very likely born with the technology. If it's 1995, if you're 27 years old or below, you are part of this new generation. And sometimes we call them millennial plus Generation Z. And then this generation of people, they are born with technology. They are born with all these digital things that these gesture becomes more prevalent than a magazine or even a book in the future. In my time, getting into a library is actually very happy. We have many knowledges there already, but now within a very short computer, or if you're talking to the AI that I'm showing you, that you can actually learn all kinds of things from the computer, from a phone, from a very small screen, that you cannot learn before. So even though we are facing a new normal that very likely human beings have not seen before, we don't know how we get here, but then very likely your generation is a generation of people that potentially can prepare for that. So one very famous quote from the 20th century is that if we teach the new generation with the way that we learn, which is 50 years ago, 40 years ago, something like that, then we would rob you for your future. This is a new generation. So you need to start learning about how to actually go into the next generation. When we start thinking about this, things will be different. We need to start think like the world is changing. How should I prepare? When I enter university for a major, when I study, let's say certain class and subjects in high school, how do I prepare for the future? Maybe some of the job, very likely some of the job that's very important when you graduate. It's not even invented this year. During a short period of time, many jobs are being created. So in some of the university, we actually talk about we need to start thinking like an entrepreneur. Are we facing the impossible, or do you see that I'm possible? That is actually possible to actually face this future, and you learn how to do it. Learning to be an entrepreneur, not everybody needs to start a company, but everybody needs to learn to deal with innovation. They need to learn to actually get out of their comfort zone, because now everything is so dynamic. It's actually very hard to actually define what's a comfort zone. Today I'm on this rock, but tomorrow this rock is going, so I need to jump to the next one. I need to prepare, and I need to be able to prepare to actually learn very quickly to actually jump onto the next thing. Learning to learn is actually very, very important, because new ways of learning is actually coming out. So using newer technology, talking to the AI so that it will actually teach you and help you to actually do things, using imaging, new imaging technology so that I can paint better, even though you might still want to learn how to paint. It's also very, very important. So using of these new ways to actually learn, using YouTube, using video, using new ways to actually learn, and build something that you need to build yourself. That's actually very important. Instead of, oh, I'm getting into a very good university, in 4 years I'll be ready for the rest of the world. Very likely, to be frank, as a professor, this is something that we don't even know. So you need to learn very, very importantly. Whatever we teach you now will be outdated. But if you are able to learn very, very quickly out of different situation, then it's different. Think about it. Teaching, it's one thing. We need to know this to teach. But learning, it's you can be in a different environment and you can learn from that. And that's something that we need to think through. Things like an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is an interesting term. It's used. This word comes from Europe, come from France, and the idea is actually you need to think like I'm facing something new every day, and I don't mind losing, because an entrepreneur is willing to actually try, and then failing is actually okay. The only failure is you didn't learn from it. If you fail but come up and we do, that's something that's not failing. You're actually learning to actually become better for tomorrow, and that's very, very important. So you don't have to start a startup, but you yourself should be a startup to actually start working on it, and that's how we think about education. Also, you need to start finding problem to solve, because just learning knowledge, there are too many different kind of knowledge and skill that we can learn. The best way to learn it is to try solving different problem, experience, doing it, and then you know that I need to learn more to do it. Or this is my strength. I need to find another teammate so that we need to do it together. Different people have different strength and weakness, and we need to learn to deal with different people. Otherwise, the future is actually so difficult to actually handle. We need to be able to actually work together to actually work on it. So these are very important tasks. Another very important thing, this concept actually started in the last 5-10 years. In the old times, we were saying when you get into university, you should prepare yourself to be a professional. Professional obviously is a very good term, and then professionalism actually means that you are very dedicated to your work and so on. But profession actually usually means that you are very narrow-minded, and being able to start crossing over, to start learning new things, to actually creating new opportunity. Let's say I'm in farming. So I would dedicate my life to be a farmer. But if you start crossing over, let's say from a data person, I'm a good programmer. Can a farmer be a programmer at the same time? With good programming skill, you actually might be able to actually rethink about the farming process. And these crossing over of different industry, different subjects are very, very important. And being able to start thinking about how do we actually solve problem using a crossover way is actually very, very important. And that actually leads to my next thing. It's you need to be able to actually learn very, very quickly, being agile, being able to actually move fast, because your industry might be outdated. Oh, I want to train to be a hotel manager, but the hotel industry has changed completely. So before you actually graduate, the industry is gone. So how do I actually change into something? So let's say hotel industry now, it's being facing very great competition from people like Airbnb. And then how does it work? So maybe it's not just a hotel that you need to build something on. You need to be able to actually help other people to actually rent out their home and one room in their home, so that people can actually travel. Why would that happen? Because the world has changed. People don't want to go everywhere and stay in the same big hotel room. I want to go and visit so that I can experience the life over there. So the whole world is actually changing. And because of that, you need to move fast to be able to actually change. Resilience is also very important, being able to actually face a problem, recover from it, learn from it. And then because some people see that this new normal is actually some very difficulty for us. Yeah, you can see it that way. It's actually not easy. But again, you are likely the generation that are able to actually go through it. But being able to have resilience, go through it, having a misfortune, I'm willing to change. I'm willing to learn from it. Another thing is being curious. That's also very important. I'm in medical. I only study medical. I only want to be a doctor. But now only wanting to be a doctor is actually not enough. You need to be curious about many, many new things. 2 years ago, when the pandemic started, I actually went to another university to start learning about taking their course. The course is actually called epidemiology, which is about virus passing around, epidemiology for dummies, for non-medical people. So because the epidemiology, which is how virus is being passed around, it's going to change the world. And in the last 2 years, it's actually changed the world in many, many different ways. We cannot even go out without a check. In Hong Kong, we cannot even go into a restaurant without having a code to actually tell us that we can. So these are statistics, these are mathematics that actually just changing our life. And being able to actually having crossover and learn something new is actually very, very, very important. So that's something that we need to work out. But learning skill is crossing over is actually very important. Another way to look into it, it's this is an engineering way. This idea comes from MIT. And the idea, it's learning, it's like having like a T model. The T model, it's like a person where you have a depth. I can change on different things, but when I change, it's building some strength of me. So even though I learn from different things, I can do multiple jobs. I can start learning something new, but it's hopefully contribute to one problem that I want to solve in my life. That might be related to what you care about. Let's say I care about animal. So maybe I want to learn about healthcare in animals, in human being, in also animals and things and so on. Let's say I care about human entertainment. So maybe I want to learn more about how to present and how to do things and so on. This can have old ways to do it, but this can also have new ways to do it. So the top part of the T model, is actually that you need to go and actually try out many different things. But when you try new things, think from the angle of you're building some kind of skill, and then you can go from there and so on. So the T model is also a very important model that we start thinking about how, when I learn new things, you're not just jumping around, you are building up yourself so that you're actually trying to solve certain problem that you want to do. That comes to another point. It's about the purpose in life. And I would challenge people, especially when you're entering university or in the age of Generation Z, that this is a very strange time when many of our values is being challenged. We have been doing what we have been doing, but the world changed and many values have changed. And we need to come back to find out what we care about. You might, let's say I care about poor people. I think I hope the society can actually help more so that more poor people can get more education so that they can move on. And that's whatever I do, I start planning on it and actually working on it. Sorry, my cat is actually running around. So yeah, please, I'll get you a Christmas present. Okay, so finding a purpose is actually very important also. And that's something that we need to think about. And that's very personal that you need to think about from your end. And to end, I would like to actually quote a Japanese researcher that's actually come up with this very interesting idea. This new idea is actually that in the 21st century, we are not just thinking from a horizontal line. So the idea here is actually in the old times when I want to enter medical industry, when I want to enter a profession, I need to spend many years working on it. It's single-minded, it's one dimension, it's professional, and then I need to start thinking, and it's basically conforming to the old system. But in the 21st century, solving the new problem, the new normal, and all the new things that we haven't seen before require us to actually have integrated skill. So we need to be able to actually have multi-dimensional thinking. That's why we are talking about the metaverse now. And also horizontal thinking, not just vertical thinking. horizontal thinking so that we are able to actually create something very, very quickly and then work out things and so on. And this actually is a very important new concept to actually start working on. And in the old times, we were talking about, okay, I want to study, get into a good school, get into a good university, then potentially I can have a good career. It's a very clear route. But like it or not, we are now facing the new normal. That's something that we are not very, very sure. The old industries, the large companies of the world is changing. And the people how to live, it's actually going to change. And we need to start thinking about integrating all kinds of life together, which actually covers different parts of the life, which might be my work, my family, my pet, my interests, and my arts, my writings, all the different things, and all my research, all my creation. It's actually very, very much related. So we need to put all these together and be able to actually start thinking about how to prepare for the future. So to summarize, it's a new world. It's a new world that we are not very sure. And old people like me are not very sure. Young people like you are also not very sure. But you are a very interesting generation where you're born with the digital world. We need to pick up on these digital skills and use it to actually learn things very, very quickly. Even though you are just in one place, you are able to actually learn from all the different places. Even though you might just be in one subject, you should be able to actually learn from all kinds of different subjects and start thinking and learning from it. Having this entrepreneurial spirit so that you're able to actually willing to actually test and try out things and being willing to try so that it's something that we're not sure. Let's say some of the AI thing that we see challenge us on all the bases, that many values that we don't know, that we think we will be living on. So how do we prepare for the future? We need to find that and actually use these technologies to actually start thinking about it. Start having horizontal and actually crossover skill. That's also very, very important. And hopefully we're able to actually find that purpose, something that we care, some people that we care, some part of the world that we care about, and then we invest our time and actually go ahead and actually do it. So that's the background. So that's my sharing. Thank you very much. I'll pass the time back to Jody. Anything anybody else, or you have some questions? Maybe we can do a chit chat.
Is there any question? Please feel free to type in the chat box.
Or like you can raise hands, then I'm gonna allow you to speak. So
People are shy.
no questions? Like
No question, come on. We can ask AI.
So if that's the case, I'm interested in your opinion. So you've talked about very advanced technology right now that basically a lot of for example, AI technology can replace like human works. In your opinion, will it override or beat human intelligence ultimately?
Well, actually, this is a very interesting question because even a year or two before, we were still debating that there are things that seems that computer cannot do. So obviously, we have all these science fictions thinking about AI and how robot might kill people, and then also how maybe AI can actually take over all kinds of things. Before these new technologies that I show you today, just a year ago, people were thinking AI are very, very focused technologies being used in a particular thing. Give it a picture and it'll try to search picture for you. Facial recognition. So I would recognize this as a face, and then I find that particular person is matching. So these are the old ways of doing things. Or even older, let's say I want to keep the room in a certain temperature. So I tune it so that when it's too high, it was too hot, it would actually, the aircon would go higher. Or when it's too cold, it will go slower. So that kind of tuning was the old AI. But now with machine learning, this few things is something that we haven't seen before. There was a test called Turing test. which is when we interact with a computer, we don't know that it's a computer. So when we start seeing the OpenAI tool that I show you, there are some errors in there, but people still also have errors. But it's actually sounds so much like the real person already, and then it's so powerful that we start not knowing if it's a real person. So that's something that I think that might change over time, and actually, and it's also general purpose. That's another thing. Usually the computer, it's focusing on doing one thing, but this now it's becoming a general purpose process because it learns things so fast that it can actually cross over to different skills to actually do things. If you think about the chat engine that we talk about, first thing is a very good natural language engine. So when we talk to it, it actually talks like a person, okay? And it would follow on what you talk about and actually work on it and so on. So that's some intelligence by itself, but that's language-based intelligence. But the knowledge intelligence that actually comes in, it can fit in different things and so on. So, and supposedly in the old times, one knowledge fit into one system. But now this becomes general when it's able to actually learn so fast. So for a very short period of time, we start seeing this. Same thing about pictures, the paintings. It doesn't paint itself, but when you start feeding them with hundreds of millions of pictures and with searches and text on it, they start knowing what's going on. So one thing that people try is, let's say, search me, Google find Erwin, and then paint Erwin with Van Gogh style. So because Van Gogh's picture, let's say Van Gogh have drawn about 300 pictures. So basically, obviously he had not drawn a picture of me, but basically because you can find my picture online and map it with the drawing skill of Van Gogh, then you start creating something that's not possible before. And that's something that mixing or crossing over to do different things was very difficult before. But this year, we start seeing it breaking through in multiple areas. So next year, likely you start seeing it being done in video. About the same time, you should be able to actually start seeing it so that vocal, when our voice and different things can actually be simulated by the computer. So that's something that we are not sure. So you're asking, are we going to be replaced by these computers? Likely there are different things, different skill, different work that we do that can be replaced by a computer. But again, just like I mentioned, as a professor, I need to push myself so that, okay, if a computer can do something just by typing, and anybody can do it, and it's free so that everybody can actually use it. What does it mean? What does it mean to me? Should my job change? Should I be actually focusing on something more important and how to type, how to actually create the environment for you to learn? My job will have changed, just like your job, just like all the different things that you'll be doing. So that's something that we need to work out. And I think we are at the time of a major opportunity where the computer can actually do a lot of things. There's another strange thing that happens. In the AI world, there was because AI and technology sometimes are very much related to science fiction. So many science fiction, Star Trek, Star Wars, Foundation, Asimov write a lot about science fiction and things and so on. And it affects what we do. Let's say the first phone that can actually flip up to actually open and actually talk. And that many Japanese phones are like that before iPhone. And then that's like Star Trek, because Star Trek 50 years ago, 80 years ago have actually created that. And that put people's imagination into it. When people start using these technology from a science fiction, it start moving to this stage. In the AI and robotic world, in science fiction, there's a very famous discussion. There are the 3 rules of robots and AI. And the first rule is actually a robot cannot kill people. So this actually is a very famous science fiction. It's called I, Robot. It's a very famous book that was written about 50 years ago, but that kind of dictate how we discuss about AI. But this year, if you check the news, we have drones that fly into other people's country and kill people. It can search for a person. It can stay in the city for hours, waiting for that person to come out. And AI will recognize him, and that's a drone. That's it, and drop a bomb or or actually kamikaze to actually go in and actually kill him. That's AI killing people. For 50 years, for all the time in science fiction, we were saying that this should not happen. This year, because of this war, it's happening every day, and we don't even know. We don't even talk about it. So people's value have changed without even knowing, especially during these turbulent times. And that's something that I'm scared about, because technology can be used for good and bad. And now, especially during a war, during all these hostility, during, let's say, even a few years ago, when we have globalization, people care about each other. We don't being very hostile all the time. But before the pandemic and during the pandemic, many people become hostile to each other, and many countries become hostile to each other. The East and the West become breaking up, and this war in Europe can be war in Asia very, very quickly. So that's something that's very, very scary. So people's value change, and how do they use these technology? If we are using AI in the new war, that's even worse than having nuclear in the new war, because AI can produce more robots and start creating new things and so on. And then, so these are things that we need to care about. And that's something that I think we need to work on. Are we there yet? We are not there yet, but it's during this last 2 years, we start seeing all these new things, and we should care. We should start discussing more and actually start working on this even more because it's out of control, frankly.
So in your opinion, how should we regulate these kind of AI developments?
It's very difficult. We can, let's say in Japan, you can regulate yourself, but other people are using it to kill people, to kill you. So when people don't trust each other, these are rules beyond countries. So can the UN do something? Maybe. But would some country listen? Maybe not. So it's a time when the law, it's not enough, right? Jody, you are studying law, international law also. But this is so new, right? Okay, in my country, we cannot use the computer to actually hurt people. Okay, but it doesn't stop me to use it as a weapon to hurt other people, right? So that's something that's very bad, and there's no treaty that can stop us from doing that. So that's why it must be not beyond law. Law is important. Rules are important. But when you start, let's say 15 years ago, 14 years ago, when we are talking about money it's a thing that usually money is being pegged to gold price or silver or something. So money is something that when you print $1, you want to ensure that you have something to back it up. So it's hooked to some kind of collateral. But about 14 years ago, in 2008, Lehman Brothers incident happened, and then the great financial tsunami comes. And what happened? The US start printing cash. It print cash without thinking. It's called QE, quantum. What's QE? Quantum equation, something like that. And then QE, and when it start printing, people are saying you are not responsible because now you start printing money to solve people's problem, and then you're actually robbing the future generation by depreciating money so much. And Europe was saying, we don't like this. But after a while, because they print so much, if you don't print, they can come actually buy you up. So Japan start printing, China start printing, Europe start printing. So we start printing all these money. And suddenly money is not worth anything because it's not associated with things anymore. They do many times of QE over the last 10 years. And I must say, this is economics that we haven't seen before, because money supply is a very important part, but now they have unlimited money supply. So money is not trustworthy anymore. And actually people, government is not trustworthy anymore because of that. And because of that, it's what are the ethics? I work so hard for money, but then you just print it. So then hyperinflation will come. Hyperinflation is coming today. So likely that's related. Again, these are things that's very hard to actually control, and that's something that I hope the new generation start thinking about it. And we might need some new order to actually work out things. Sorry for being so gloomy, but that seems to be what's going on right now.
So,
but it's already time.
should we wrap up?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I bring out a little bit more that the future, it's not sure. I think that's very clear. It's the only thing that we know is the future is unknown. And the future, it's very hard to use yesterday's history and know-how to actually predict the future. But you are a new generation. And how do we use of new technology and make use of the current situation to actually do it? And you need to start thinking like an entrepreneur. Start thinking that everything is dynamic. How do I prepare myself? And think deeper, learn deeper about how you use technology. You cannot just say, I don't want to, I just want to be a painter. Sorry. A painter, likely they would paint better than you. So you need to start learning to actually rethink when we think. And we need to start refining our value and then work out things that's best suitable for us for the future. And I hope that we all can actually go and find our purpose in the process. And some of these purposes related to all the ethics, all the care, all the love that we have. And hopefully we go back to those. And otherwise, I think we're facing something that's very, very strange. And it's a strange time. And hopefully we can work together towards it. All right.
Thank you very much for
Thank
your sharing.
you. So
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
We close the session.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is the end of the presentation.
Thank you very much.
That's good. Thank you very much. It was fun. It's gloomy though. Yeah, those are fun software. You can go and try out.